Professoressa Briganti, oggigiorno la formazione a distanza riveste un ruolo sempre più importante alla luce dello sviluppo sociale ed economico mondiale. A 4 anni dalla nascita, in che modo Guide contribuisce alla diffusione dell'e-learning sulla scena internazionale?
Era molto importante creare una istituzione che riuscisse a mettere insieme tutti i tentativi e tutte le esperienze che già si svolgevano nei vari paesi a livello planetario, ma non avevano un collegamento reale, e questo soprattutto a livello universitario, dato che abbiamo tutti quanti in ogni paese dovuto vincere molte resistenze da parte delle università tradizionali nei confronti di una metodologia che veniva considerata, che è stata considerata, in parte è considerata ancora non adatta appunto a trasmettere contenuti di livello accademico. Credo che noi siamo riusciti, mettendo appunto insieme le forze presenti in tutto il mondo, siamo riusciti a vincere questa resistenza da parte delle istituzioni tradizionali, le quali adesso hanno cominciato a comprendere l'importanza della istruzione a distanza nell'affrontare appunto dei problemi enormi che oggi tutto il mondo si trova davanti e che consistono, diciamo, per sintetizzare, nel fatto che ormai la formazione non investe più soltanto un'età della vita, come era nella tradizione, ma si estende per tutto il corso della vita. E poi l'altro problema è quello dell'accesso alla formazione superiore da parte di un numero di persone estremamente cresciuto rispetto a solo qualche decennio fa, e quindi i costi, diciamo, la possibilità stessa di affrontare la soluzione di questo problema numerico con le metodologie tradizionali rende la cosa impossibile, per cui di qui la necessità di usare le tecnologie. Dopodiché naturalmente queste tecnologie sono solo un puro e semplice mezzo, devono essere usate nella maniera opportuna, nella maniera più idonea a creare effettivamente cultura, a sviluppare il pensiero, a rispondere a ipotesi, dare soluzioni. E qui c'è la mente umana che deve quindi riuscire a funzionare in armonia con le tecnologie. Questo è il compito evidentemente più importante, e si risolve come? Si risolve con la ricerca. Quindi la formazione a distanza significa una implementazione della ricerca al massimo livello, una ricerca che deve essere continua, proprio perché come sappiamo le tecnologie hanno uno sviluppo, invecchiano rapidamente, c'è un continuo sviluppo appunto delle tecnologie, quindi bisogna continuare a mettere in fase il pensiero dell'uomo con lo sviluppo tecnologico. Credo che siamo riusciti a farlo, a creare un sistema e a imprimere anche a questo compito il giusto dinamismo, e cioè uno sviluppo continuo appunto della ricerca e della capacità di stare dietro allo sviluppo delle tecnologie.
Ms. Amongst, the development of agriculture is crucial in many countries. In your opinion, can ODL help achieve more effectively this goal? And what kind of strategies should be pursued?
Thank you for this question. Absolutely true. If we want to achieve a world free from hunger, we have to invest a lot in agricultural education and training, lifelong learning, because we need many more trained experts in specific developing country institutions. Therefore, new approaches in learning like e-learning, blended learning, facilitated learning are crucial, because with the traditional methodology we could not reach as many people as we need to be trained. Therefore, we in FAO have this as a strategy, a adopt it for our own work, but we need to work with partners worldwide and also with partners in developing countries, universities and institutions, that we have a huge rollout of our material and also other partners' materials for lifelong learning.
Mr. Guralnik, you are an expert in the use of e-learning on the workplace. Which is the key to develop online learning products being really effective in improving learners' job performance?
Well, I found that when you're looking to design effective online learning that's really going to translate to the job, first you want to start at a high level and focus on the goals and the audience and what you're teaching, and make sure you're really going to achieve the goals, which are really about performance, not about memorizing facts. And then in terms of methods, we've had very good success with learning by doing methods. Scenarios and simulations where you put people in a realistic online context and ask them to perform difficult, challenging tasks that will translate to the job. And that's where the educational research and practice kind of come together, and you can take realistic situations. Then when you go on the job, you actually are working on things that you've learned in your training, and your job performance will generally improve. That's been our experience. Thanks.
Mr. Wemfu, could you give us a brief overview about the situation of education in general and distance education in particular in the most dynamic economy of the world?
Okay, thank you very much. I just give a little opinion about in China. Education just play a very important role in China. Now we have 10 years just plan to promoting the education development. As for the distance education in China, there are altogether about 68 universities just give the distance education to about 4 million students in all of China. So just STVU just play just a little role in all of them. Also in Shanghai, distance education play a very important to promote the economic development. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dokshanov, in many countries we can assist to a continuous decrease of students' enrollment rates in mathematics and scientific subjects. How can digital technologies help reverse this tendency?
So unfortunately such a tendency of course takes place, but of course due to the fact that digital technologies propose the accelerating rate of the interchanging of the information. So that is the point where such a problem could be solved. So it's an accelerating of the information interchanging. So of course, in such a decrease, of course, could be understood in the aspect of multidisciplinary dialogue between the scientific disciplines, especially when, for example, when the students of a physical background being involved into the solution of the biological phenomena, or the chemical, the representatives of the chemistry science are being involved into the decision of problems of nanotechnology. Of course, this kind of dialogue, of course, can be as the very significant impact, very significant income for such a problem to be solved. So the first one is the accelerating between the information interchanging, and the second one, of course, it's the multidisciplinary dialogue, strong multidisciplinary dialogue. Thank you.
Mr. Manangaya, Guide International Workshop 2010 is being joined by delegates coming from more than 50 countries belonging to both developed and developing worlds. Can ICTs and distance education help reduce the gap between those two dimensions?
Yes, ICTs can help reduce the gap between the developed and developing nations, in the sense that there will be available alternative approaches. In other words, what matters is the exchange, whereby we will see a move from one type of model or thinking to another type of model or thinking. Just this morning, our rector, Briganti, was talking about how teachers can be more autonomous and be genuine teachers as they are. So what we want here is a move from enterprise level approaches to individual approaches, and enable individuals to be creative and use the tools of ICT for more effective distance learning. I guess in that sense of moving from one model to another, we will see a difference and an understanding between developed and developing nations.
Dr. Mendonça, Brazil is living a great period of development and has become a fundamental actor in the economic, regional and global scenarios. What could be the advantages and opportunities distance learning could offer to create a Brazilian elite able to successfully lead the country to fulfill its new role?
Distance education is extremely important to Brazil due to its enormous, very vast territory. There are many people in Brazil who live in far-off areas who don't have access to education, or should we say, who didn't have access before distance education started. For example, I work at a university who does distance education, and we live in the south of Brazil. Brazil is almost the size of Europe, and we have students, for example, who live in the Amazon forest region. And so we can reach a large number of students who otherwise could not have access to education. This is how distance education can contribute to the development of the country, especially Brazil. And I would say that distance education is a process that cannot be reverted anymore.
Ms. Apula, in Africa, the disparity between communities who can take advantage of the progress of new technologies and those who are excluded from the process is still dramatic. What do you think it should be done in order to invert this trend?
In Tanzania, many people who can access the new technologies are those who are living in big cities and in towns. But those who are living in rural areas cannot access the new technologies because they don't have electricity. We have a problem of electricity in rural areas, and therefore they don't have computers and internet connectivity. So maybe the effort should be done by the government to make sure that electricity is available in rural areas.
Mr. Robertson, quality assurance is a key element in providing online education. What are the steps that should be still done in better favoring this process?
Well, as we're seeing here at this conference at the University of Marconi, there's an increasing number of schools offering online programs around the world. One of the key things that will differentiate those programs is focus on quality. So it's important that schools think about quality as they start their programs. The first thing to do is to have a strategic perspective on the types of courses you offer, how they're offered, who offers them in terms of instructors, and a system to regularly assess both the courses themselves, but also the program. Increasingly, schools are looking at external accreditation agencies. In the United States, there are regional accreditation agencies that look at programs, but also there are other programs in the world that similarly take an external perspective and take a look at the types of courses being offered, how they're offered, to ensure that they meet the objectives of students both now and in the future. So quality, I think, is one of the key issues for online education to consider as we go forward. Certainly there's been a lot of improvement in quality over the last few years, but I expect in the next few years we'll see even more quality work, and the schools that are involved in quality will be the ones that succeed.
Ms. Kom Meang, you are one of the youngest, or probably the youngest participant to this workshop. What are your considerations about the themes addressed and the opportunities the conference could give you in terms of career and personal growth?
Thank you very much for the question. First of all, I would like to thank the GAI International Workshop 2010 that gave me this great opportunity to attend this workshop. I think the topic of this conference and the theme are very useful for my career path, because I can use the idea and the approach that I get from the conference here to improve my teaching and learning at my university, and then I can help my students and also myself to improve. Thank you very much.